All right, so today's deep dive, we're going to be talking about weather forecasting,
Okay.
but not just your everyday weather forecasting. We're talking next level stuff like using satellites and artificial intelligence,
Yeah, fascinating
like
sites.
really change the game when it comes to predicting storms.
Absolutely.
You ready to kind of get ahead of the curve with this?
Definitely. I think knowing when and where the next big storm is going to hit, it's not some guessing game anymore.
Right, exactly.
It's becoming much more precise.
Yeah, and you've been sharing some really interesting articles and information about this company, tomorrow.io, and how they're approaching this.
Yeah.
So let's sort of unpack this a little bit.
Mm.
And I think the best place to start with any kind of weather forecasting is observations, right?
Yeah, observations are really the cornerstone of any any accurate weather prediction model. It's all about getting that real-time data, your temperature, wind speed, precipitation.
Hmm.
It's like, taking the pulse of the atmosphere constantly.
So it's like when we see those, those weather maps on the news, on the Weather Channel,
Yeah.
with the swirling lines, all the symbols.
Exactly, exactly. That's where all that data gets, plugged in and visualized.
But those are based on systems that are, down here, right?
Yeah, traditionally we've relied on ground-based systems, so you got your radar stations, weather balloons, all very important, but they have their limitations.
Right. You can't exactly just put a weather station
Exactly.
in the middle of the Pacific Ocean.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head, and that's where a company like tomorrow.io is really trying to address this problem.
Right, because they're launching weather satellites, right?
They are. Yeah, and not just launching one, they're launching a whole constellation of these things.
A whole fleet of them.
A whole fleet, exactly.
Wow.
Um, and these are radar-equipped satellites, so we're talking some high-tech stuff.
Okay.
And they've got these kind of catchy names like Tomorrow R1 and Tomorrow R2.
Uh,
Catchy.
yeah, I know, I know.
Like it.
But what's so groundbreaking about this is that, they're aiming for global coverage, right? So they want to fill in those data gaps, especially over oceans,
Mhm.
where, we just haven't had the ability to collect this kind of information before.
So they're going to have eyes on basically every storm as it develops,
Yeah.
everywhere, potentially. Yeah. I mean, that's the goal.
Which is amazing. But how does more data necessarily translate into a better forecast? I mean, we've got data coming out of our ears already.
That's true. That's true. But it's not just about having more data. It's about making sense of that data.
Okay.
And that's where the AI comes in.
Okay.
Because they're using these advanced algorithms to sift through all this data in real time as it's coming down from the satellite.
So you've got these satellites up in space beaming down tons of data.
Right.
And these algorithms are like crunching the numbers live.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And these aren't just your run-of-the-mill algorithms. These are designed to detect, very subtle patterns, anomalies, things that traditional forecasting methods might miss.
Oh.
And that can mean earlier storm detection, more accurate path prediction, things like that.
So instead of just knowing, like, oh, there's a hurricane out there somewhere, it's like, okay, and we know that in 3 days it's going to hit this city and it's going to be this strong.
Exactly. And, we've already seen some impressive results. For example, they accurately predicted the path of Hurricane Zeta with like 99% accuracy,
Wow.
which is pretty unheard of.
Yeah.
And what's even more amazing is that this gave coastal communities something like 12 extra hours to prepare,
Wow.
which could be life-saving.
That's huge. I mean, those extra hours could be the difference between an orderly evacuation and, total chaos.
Absolutely.
So, I mean, this is all very impressive, but what's the bigger picture here? Like, what does this kind of forecasting power mean for, the average person, someone who's listening to this deep dive? Why should they care?
Yeah, I mean, it goes way beyond just, avoiding a traffic jam during a downpour.
Okay.
This has huge implications for things like the economy, right? Businesses can prepare for disruptions. Farmers can protect their crops. Emergency responders can be strategically positioned before a hurricane even makes landfall.
That's wild that we could have this level of insight into something that's always felt so unpredictable, like the weather. I mean, it really does seem like tomorrow.io is like rewriting the rules of weather forecasting as we know it.
It really does.
Hmm.
And it makes you wonder, what's next? We could do this with the weather. What other possibilities are out there? What other complex systems can we start to understand and predict with this kind of accuracy?
It's an exciting time to be thinking about the future of weather forecasting, that's for sure.
For s-
It's no longer just, looking at the clouds and hoping for the best.
No, no.
Yeah, the future's looking pretty bright.
I think so, yeah. It's definitely an exciting field to be following.
Absolutely.